Have you ever started a new gut treatment, you're all hopeful, you're ready for relief, and then you end up feeling even worse than when you started? It's confusing, it's frustrating, and honestly, it can make you want to just give up. Well, if that's you, you're in exactly the right place. Let's figure out what is really going on. I mean, seriously, does this sound familiar? You're dealing with all these digestive problems. You finally start a protocol you believe in, and bam, the bloating is back with a vengeance. You're totally exhausted. Maybe you even feel like you're coming down with the flu. It's so disheartening, right? But I promise, there's a very good reason for this, and it's probably not what you think. Okay, so before we can understand why the cure can feel like the problem, we need to understand the battlefield itself. And for this conversation, our context is a condition called SIBO. SIBO is short for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. See, your small intestine, that's where all the magic happens with nutrient absorption, it's supposed to be relatively clean, not a lot of bacteria hanging out there. SIBO is what happens when bacteria, usually from the large intestine, decide to move on up and throw a party where they just don't belong. So when these out-of-place bacteria start munching on your food way too early in the digestive line, they create a ton of gas. It's like a fermentation party in your gut. And that leads to this whole list of really frustrating symptoms. You know, the crazy bloating after you eat, the painful gas, that brain fog where you can't think straight, and just feeling wiped out all the time. This is the stuff people are desperate to fix. All right, so you start a treatment to get rid of those party-crashing bacteria. You'd think you'd start feeling better right away, wouldn't you? Well, this is where our story takes a very strange, paradoxical twist. Let's talk about the die-off phenomenon. Okay, and here it is. This is the big reveal. If you suddenly feel terrible after starting that treatment, it is very, very often a sign that it is working perfectly. I know, it sounds completely backward, but stick with me because understanding this one point can change everything. This whole experience actually has a fancy name, the Jarisch-Herxheimer reaction, but most people just call it die-off. It's what happens when your treatment, whether it's an antibiotic or an herbal antimicrobial, starts doing its job and killing off huge numbers of bacteria. As these little guys die, they basically burst open, and when they do, they release all this inflammatory gunk called endotoxins. Your body is suddenly flooded with all this junk way faster than it can clear it out. Let's just walk through this real quick. So first, your treatment starts winning the war. The bad bacteria start to die off. As they pop, they release all those toxins. Then your immune system sees this mess and sounds the alarm, launching a massive inflammatory response to clean it all up. And that immune response, that cleanup effort is what makes you feel so sick. It's not the SIBO getting worse, it's the victory celebration getting a little messy. So what does this actually feel like? Well, it's often a double whammy. Not only do your original gut symptoms get worse for a bit, but you also get all these new, full-body, flu-like feelings. The fatigue can be crushing, the brain fog can be super intense, and you might even get body aches, skin issues, or feel really moody and irritable. It's just your body working overtime to take out the trash. Now, it's really easy to confuse a die-off reaction with a food intolerance, so let's clear this up. The trigger for die-off is the treatment itself, not one specific food. A food issue, on the other hand, is always triggered by that same food. But here's the biggest clue. Die-off is temporary. It usually only lasts a few days, maybe a week. A food intolerance will keep happening as long as you keep eating that food. Okay, so now you know you're not going crazy, you're just in the middle of a die-off storm. The big question is, how on earth do you survive it? Let's get into some real, practical strategies you can use to navigate these symptoms and just help your body get through it. First, let's just manage our expectations, okay? The best news is this is not forever, not even close. Most die-off reactions hit their peak within about 3 to 7 days. Yeah, those first few days, you might see your gut symptoms flare up, and then that might be followed by a few days of feeling like you got hit by a truck. But then, as your body catches up and clears out the toxins, things start to get better. Just knowing there's a light at the end of the tunnel can make all the difference. And hey, if you're going through this, you are so far from alone. Some studies suggest that up to 60% of people being treated for SIBO experience some level of die-off. So yeah, it's a super common and, as we now know, a really positive part of the healing journey. So what can you do to feel better? The name of the game is supporting your body's cleanup crew, your detox pathways. Hydration is absolutely non-negotiable. You gotta drink water to flush all that gunk out. Things called binders, like activated charcoal, can be amazing for soaking up toxins in your gut. Just be sure to take them at least 2 hours away from any meds or supplements. And please, for the love of all that is holy, rest. Your body is fighting a war. Gentle movement like walking is great, but now is not the time to hit a new personal best at the gym. All right, just as important as what you should be doing is what you should not be doing. Let's quickly run through a few common mistakes that can actually make this whole die-off experience way worse. First up, the number one mistake is blowing off hydration. It sounds so basic, I know, but your kidneys are working in overdrive, filtering out all these bacterial toxins. If you don't give them enough water, the whole process grinds to a halt, and you're just left with all that junk circulating in your system, making you feel so much worse for so much longer. Next, while you're chugging that water, try to avoid this common trap, overloading your system. It is so tempting to see die off and think detox, and then throw every supplement you own at the problem. But your body is already under a ton of stress. It doesn't need more things to process. Stick to simple, gentle support, not some brand new aggressive protocol. And this leads right into mistake number 3, not resting. Look, your immune system is going all out. That takes a massive amount of energy. Trying to push through the fatigue is totally counterproductive. You're basically stealing energy that your body needs for healing, and you'll just drag out the misery. So give yourself a break. And finally, this one's a little more nuanced. Going too hard on probiotics right away. Now, don't get me wrong, probiotics are essential for long-term gut health, but sometimes throwing a bunch of new bacterial strains into the mix during this intense cleanup phase can just add more fuel to the inflammatory fire. It's often better to wait for the storm to calm down before you start focusing on rebuilding. This is where getting some professional guidance can be a game changer. So once you've made it through the storm and those die-off symptoms start to fade, what's next? It's really important to remember that this tough phase is just one single step on a much longer journey to true gut health. And this might be the most critical takeaway of all. The die-off means you're clearing out the bad guys, but that's just step 1. Real lasting healing only happens when you ask why the SIBO happened in the first place. Was it low stomach acid? Was your gut motility slow? You have to play detective and figure out the root cause, ideally with a great practitioner, so you can stop it from just coming right back. This is all about playing the long game for your health. So remember, that awful, sick feeling can actually be a really good sign. It's your body winning. It's proof that you're on the right track. Now that you know how to spot the signs of die-off, you have the power to navigate it. So I'll leave you with this question. What's your next step, your very next move toward healing? Thanks for tuning in.